Welcome back. Good morning. Wake up. It is some ungodly hour in the morning. It is Championship Week Video Notebook day number 12, the second to last episode of Championship Week Video Notebook. We almost made it, Griggs.
Yeah, we have. And another crazy day.
I'm Chad Sherwood. That's David Griggs. We may have one or two more people joining us late, but it is late, so we don't wait for people to join in. We just start and let them jump in later on, right?
Yeah, we do. It's just sort of it's a low budget show.
It's very low
Low
budget.
production value.
Very low
Hopefully good
budget.
information, but low.
News and notes, real quick. A lot of coaching news. The three very notable ones: Mike Anderson out of St. John's, Brian Gregory out of South Florida, Josh Pastner out of Georgia Tech. Any thoughts on any of those, Griggs?
No, I mean Rick Pitino's I think being rumored for all three of them. So
And
that's
Texas
interesting.
Tech as well.
And Texas Tech. Yeah, in there too. So I don't know. And the thing is, Iona's still playing. We'll get to that here in a minute.
Yes,
Yeah, but he's being rumored for all four of them, and
he's
probably some that haven't even opened yet.
he's kind of like the way Rocco attends every game. Pitino
Yeah,
coaches every team, so
right.
he might
Yeah,
be coaching
Rocco.
three or four teams at a time.
Yeah, Rocco Miller not with us tonight because yeah, he was at four games tonight at once, all out in Vegas. So
Let's get to the games that were played, and we'll start things off right here in the ACC. It was semifinal day with Duke taking on Miami and Virginia Clemson and Greg. First of all, the Duke Miami game. This felt like a high level, like a Final Four almost caliber type of game. Honestly,
yeah, it really did, and I've got to give credit to Joby, who had been big on Duke coming into this tournament. He picked them to win it, and it looks like that they might, coincidentally going up against his Who's. But I've been really impressed with how Duke's played in this tournament after sort of beating them up and being very, very critical for them until about the end of January. They're really coming on. They're really looking good. They're certainly in the tournament. I think they can win the ACC and go far, maybe not to the Final Four far, but further than what I would have ever guessed they would have been able to go in the NCAA tournament a few weeks ago. Still like this Miami team, which is another reason why I'm so impressed with Duke.
one of the big guys, Norchad Omie, went down with an injury in this game. Hopefully, he will be okay because if he's not, that could really hurt their tournament chances
Yeah, it
going
really
forward.
does.
Virginia absolutely clobbered Clemson, and just when we were starting to think Clemson might be back in the bubble picture, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make it, but we'll see
I
Sunday
don't
night.
either. A case can be made for them. They are on our board. We will discuss them. But if I'm guessing, I don't think we take them, and I don't think the real committee does either.
Yeah, Duke, Virginia tomorrow. I think it's. I mean, while it doesn't have real, I don't know that it's going to affect anything in terms of the NCAA
Yeah,
in terms of seeding. It should be a great game, and
yeah, it should
both
be.
teams want this championship. Obviously.
They do. In the ACC tournament, it is one of those events. It is a tournament that they want to win. They still look at it as being the championship. And while it's not on par with the national championship, winning it, winning the Big East, there's some tournaments that are just sort of sacred cows, and this is one of them.
It was also semifinal day in the Big 12, where despite how great these teams were, I still feel we got any great games at least yet in this entire tournament. Really, um,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Kansas kind of pulled away late. Texas kind of led the whole way, even though TCU was always within striking distance, but never let them back in it.
yeah. I mean, we haven't had one of those just. I don't want to say that we haven't had a high caliber game, but we haven't had one that was nip and tuck, back and forth, multiple lead changes down to the wire, like so many of the Big 12 games we saw this season. Uh,
Maybe tomorrow though,
yeah,
Kansas,
maybe
Texas.
tomorrow, Kansas, Texas. I really like this Texas team. I don't know where the real committee is with them. I think they can win tomorrow. Uh, and if they do, I think they belong on the one line. I almost think they belong there already. As you know from our deliberations tonight, I really think this Texas team is good. It's hard to say that a top 10 team that's on the two line is perhaps being undervalued, but maybe Texas is.
It was also semifinal day in the Pac-12 where UCLA steamrolled Oregon and ended their dreams of stealing a bid. And then the late game was a lot closer than that final score. Arizona just kind of pulled away late in this one, but Uh,
Yeah,
we have the game that we really wanted in this conference tournament also, the top two seeds.
yeah, and just after a thrilling day of semifinal action in the Pac-12 today, we get the game that we want. Yeah, Arizona State was as close as 4 with less than 10 minutes to go, I want to say. But as you alluded to, Arizona just sort of blew it open late and wasn't even sweating at the end. The two best teams, the two protected seeds, perhaps the only two that are getting bids, although I kind of like this Arizona State profile, even though they lost today. They have the win against Arizona earlier, and it may be enough to just have them beat out the rest of the bubble, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll pull the profile up here real quick because I agree with you. I think that when we do it with our mock committee tomorrow, do our final voting, I'm going to push strongly for this Arizona State team to get in.
Yeah.
Not so much the Sam Houston Bearcats are up there on the right. I think they're on the bad side of the bubble, even though they
I
unearned a
gotta
good
say, Chad,
situation play.
I don't see the profile. I just see the Pac-12 tournament.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit of a problem here. We're going to try to fix the screen share here again. Uh, as our good friend John Sleek is joining us, let's see here. Can we now see this Arizona State profile as the screen
Yes, we
share
can. Yeah,
reloads?
there it is.
Okay, there
Yeah,
it is.
and
And,
Sam Houston. Sam
and
Houston.
Sam Houston, who is not going to be there. John Sleeka joining us. And John, I actually bypassed the Big East, hoping you'd jump in here. Let's go right back there. Uh, Big East tournament, it was semifinal day, and you are our Big East guy, and you're Xavier Musketeers, just like we predicted, won tonight.
Not only won, but actually won pretty handily. They actually had the third biggest blowout of the win tonight. Creighton seemed to revert to the Puppets vintage Creighton team where they were just turning the ball over 11 times in the first half, dug a 14-point hole going into halftime, and they never seemed to make the run that we suspected they would in the second half. And Xavier was actually able to rest their regulars, even with a brief injury scare from Adam Kunkel, but looked like he was okay, and everyone should be good to go for the championship game against Marquette.
Yeah, it was a great.
Stalika, yeah, you pointed out how poor Creighton played, but point out how well Xavier played. This was an awesome showing.
It was certainly one of the best, certainly the best defensive effort that Xavier has had so far this season, which has actually been pretty good for the past month and a half. And if not for a game missed by illness for Des Claude, they could have easily won at Marquette as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Marquette UConn game though, that was a high, that was a great game, Griggs.
Yeah.
David Dorman joining us as well, but Griggs, first your thoughts of that Marquette UConn game,
It was
UConn had the shot at the end to win it even.
it was crazy. I mean, high emotion, high level play on a neutral floor. It felt like an NCAA tournament game. In reality, the stakes were somewhat low outside of bragging rights for the Big East. I think both teams are in. I think they're both protected seeds, but it was just a highly emotional, highly intense, highly well played game. And you know, you got the feeling is that had they played for another had they played for 100 minutes, the whole game would have been within a 5-point window.
Dorman, I think you're with us here. How about Marquette and Xavier tomorrow? I know it's probably not going to move the needle on either one of these teams much, but although Marquette might be playing for a 2 seed tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, I agree that it will be. I think it will matter for a seed. I think Marquette wins. They do move up to the 2 line. Xavier, even with the injury, they've looked really good since, and they will not be penalized for their injury of their big man Fremantle. Great game. This should be up and down the court. Fantastic. Marquette's great on offense. I've said it all year. I love the way they move the ball. They love the way they score. Xavier and Sean Miller are going to try and lock them down on D.
Right. It was also semifinal day in the Mountain West. We don't see the second score there. However, it was a 72-62 win by Boise State.
No, Utah State.
I'm sorry, by Utah State over Boise State. Utah State going on to play San Diego State in the finals after San Diego State completely demolished Griggs' San Jose State team.
It was a horrible. I mean, the game was stolen from them. It was obviously not a fair game.
But yeah, this Boise State, a team that is going to be sweating on Sunday. I think that there's room for them in the field still. Utah State, Also could be splitting on Sunday if they don't win tomorrow, but Salika, I like Utah State
I
tomorrow.
do too.
Yeah, Utah State was a team that was looking kind of iffy in the game tonight, and a 19 to
Love the
4
profiles.
run in the second half was what blew this game open and gives the Aggies at least one more shot to get the auto bid and not have to sweat as much going into Sunday.
Yeah, there are those two profiles. You know, Utah State lacking in the tier one wins. Boise State a few bad losses on there, but I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to see both teams in the tournament at this point. I think Nevada ends up being the team left out from this conference.
Yeah, I can't guess the committee nearly as well as Rocco, and certainly not as well as Titel. And I know that when you evaluate a profile, there's certainly profiles that we've seen that are better than this one. We've probably seen profiles like this get left out, but I just have a feeling that the committee's going to take Utah State.
Well, we've got Mike
I
Cha
agree.
joining us in here as well as we keep adding people in. We start right away though because it's very late. But Mike, you are our Big Ten guy, and Big Ten was our next conference up. So your thoughts on it? Was quarterfinal day. Uh, Maybe just give me your thoughts. Let's start with the top two games there with my Rutgers Scarlet Knights giving Purdue a hell of an effort, and then the big upset of Ohio State winning again.
Yeah, who would have thought that you have two double-digit seeds still remaining? Yeah, Rutgers did give Purdue a heck of a game, but Purdue they didn't shoot 1 for 21 in the second half, and that enabled them to win this game. Zach Edey, what can you say? It's just presents a huge matchup problem for most teams. But kudos to Rutgers. I think in my opinion, Rutgers has done enough to make the tournament. It'll be one of the lowest. They'll be like either a play-in team or an 11 seed, one of the last teams with the bye. And then Ohio State, they continue their run. They beat Michigan State. And but Ohio State's got to get the automatic bid. They have no chance for an at-large. It's automatic or nothing else.
Right, and then the nightcap here though, Dorman, the Penn State, I think they locked up their bid with their win over Northwestern, and then Indiana took care of Maryland.
Penn State in with the victory. I am with you, Chad. I don't even think they'll have to be. I don't think they're even sent to Dayton. I think they're right into the main bracket. Incredibly high intensity, back and forth. It was a fantastic. It wasn't the prettiest of games.
Yeah,
overtime victory. Penn State had a shot with 2 seconds to go, didn't go in. Northwestern heaved it off the backboard. We went to overtime. Penn State came out, hit a big three with about 3 minutes to go, and didn't look back. Northwestern had a shot to tie it, did not go. Penn State, I agree, Chad, in the field.
Right. Griggs, how about tomorrow's games? Purdue, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana.
Well, Purdue should clobber Ohio State, but Ohio State should have lost several rounds ago. I like Purdue in that one, and I like Indiana. And how much fun would that be? A Purdue Indiana Big Ten final leading into the selection show.
As a Rutgers guy, I want the bid Steelers going, which means let's get Ohio State out of this tournament.
Yeah. Well, you had. I wanted to ask you that. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did want to ask you. You had confirmed with the Big Ten, or was it the NCAA? No, it was the selection committee. Ohio State will not be selected even with the automatic bid. Is that correct, Chad?
Well, yes. Ohio State has no chance whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah.
We did confirm that because
Yeah.
this is a late game, and
So our friend Kyle Lamb, sorry, but
SEC Stalika, we saw Alabama thoroughly demolish Mississippi State, and then Missouri with a close but good win over Tennessee, although it is still that shorthanded Tennessee team.
It's also the first time that Missouri has advanced to the semifinals in the SEC conference tournament. Vanderbilt is another team that they have not gotten onto the at-large board yet, but they are getting very close now that they have a second win against Kentucky that's now been added to a profile that has suddenly gotten red hot since the beginning of February.
Yeah, and they lose Liam Robbins, and they still are here winning these games. And now you got 2 wins over Kentucky, 1 road, 1 neutral. The Tennessee home win. Mike, I'm kind of with him. I might be making our mock committee making a strong case tomorrow that Vanderbilt deserves an at-large bid spot if they can't, even if they can't win Texas A&M, and especially if they can win Texas A&M tomorrow.
Yeah, and then when I took a closer look at Vanderbilt's resume, it's like you look at the record against quad one and then quad two, quad three. It's pretty solid actually. I think people overlook that.
Yeah.
I think if they beat A&M, they definitely have a great case to receive an at-large bid.
Yeah,
And unlike teams like NC State and Clemson, their strength of schedule is actually a lot more respectable.
it
Yeah,
was.
and we do have to keep moving here though, but real
I
quick,
did want to point out one thing. The conference record is 13-7. So I mean that makes it
if you
even
include
more
the
impressive.
SEC
They do,
tournament,
they
yeah,
do,
yeah.
they do. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
Texas,
understand why their net rankings in the 80s. It should be a lot better than that.
well, it may go up after today,
It'll
after
be,
this
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Texas A&M also was down big early to Arkansas, came all the way back and did get the win here.
Ooh.
And Dorman, what about these two games tomorrow, though? Alabama versus Missouri. Can Missouri pull the upset, and can Vandy keep it going and beat A&M?
I definitely think Vandy can beat A&M the way Vandy's playing. They are red hot. They are a confident bunch. Stackhouse has them playing incredible, especially on the defensive end. I love the way they get down and guard. Yes, they can pull the upset against A&M. And I was slow on this Missouri team, but in the last 4 to 6 weeks, I bought in. They just really work you. I love the way they get in your face and they just make you earn everything. The problem is the defensive rebounding. If they can defensive board against Bama and Bama isn't playing volleyball on their offensive boards, they can stay in the game with Alabama tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, but Alabama was so good today, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
they did.
Yeah.
What they were, they've woken up from their nap.
Griggs,
Speaking of naps,
yeah. Houston, East Carolina actually was a close game at half, and then Houston turned it on. Cincinnati took care of Temple fairly easily.
oh boy,
Memphis struggled for a while with UCF, but found a way at the end. And probably the same thing for the Tulane win. But your thoughts on these four American games today?
More than anything, I'm kind of going to a team that isn't even anywhere close to the bubble. I was impressed with Cincinnati. How they just completely blew them out. I think Cincinnati's gotten incrementally better. If the season went until May or June, I think they'd be playing like a top 25 team by that point. But it took them way too long to get to the point that they've gotten to, and it's their only way in it is to win this tournament. But I would not. Houston seemed really disinterested today. If they come out like disinterested tomorrow, Cincinnati might hang in there and might beat them.
What was amazing is it was 14-6 Temple in the early minutes of the game. The Owls hit 4 out of 5 from 3-point range and apparently made Cincinnati very, very angry. There was a 38-point swing afterwards.
How about Tulane? Do they have a shot against Memphis tomorrow, Dorman, or do you think Memphis takes it into this championship game against the winner of Houston-Cincinnati?
No, I think Temple has a real chance tomorrow.
Tulane.
This was a
Tulane.
Tulane. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Tulane. This was a team a lot of us liked in the preseason. They didn't live up to it, but the last 2-3 weeks they've been playing better. Memphis played around today. There was chances they had to really blow this game open and end it for Central Florida, and they never did. They let Central Florida hang around. If they let Tulane hang around tomorrow too much, Tulane can sneak up and beat them.
Yep. It was semifinal day in the Big West. Mike, we saw a one seed go down. UC Irvine's on their way to the NIT as Cal State Fullerton knocks them off, and Santa Barbara survives a real tough game against Riverside.
Yeah, this tournament's usually wacky. A lot of times the top seed doesn't always go all the way through, and this year is no exception. Cal State Fullerton's.
We're having a problem with your audio, Mike. We can barely hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay. Maybe I was pressing my phone too much against the computer. But anyway, yeah, this tournament's wacky. A lot of times the top seed doesn't always come through, and Cal State Fullerton they know how to do well in this tournament, and this year is no exception.
Yeah, I do think that the Gauchos get this done tomorrow, though, Griggs. That being this Fullerton team that was able to just barely hold on there against Irvine.
I kind of like the Gauchos. They've been my favorite team for most of the year. I actually picked Riverside to win this tournament. I thought they had really started to play up to their level. So for Santa Barbara to go in and get the win the day, I think they get it done tomorrow. And again, kind of a disappointing probably seeming a little unfair way for the Eaters to end their season. God, they had a great season, just not enough to get themselves all the way inside the bubble.
Conference USA. What an afternoon in Conference USA with a pair of crazy games in which both Florida Atlantic and UAB jumped out to huge leads. Their opponents came storming back. Middle Tennessee had a shot there at the end after there was a three and a free throw and a missed free throw and another shot at the very end, and somehow FAU survived. Somehow UAB held after a 22-2 start against North Texas, held them off as well. And this is the conference, though, Salika, where all of the bubble teams out there are praying for FAU tomorrow night, is it not?
They're going to be praying for FAU, but I was also joking in our text thread that could this be a 3-bid Conference USA?
Oh,
Unfortunately,
yes.
North Texas couldn't really live up to their end of the bargain as far as getting some notable out-of-conference wins. They
I don't-
certainly have had enough of a profile in Conference USA, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think North Texas has any real shot in an at-large bid, although they
Well-
are on our mock committee board. But
Well, look at how much better their 2 wins against UAB look now.
look how yeah. But this FAU UAB game, Dorman, if FAU plays the way they played today, they're losing tomorrow.
Yes, they are. They messed around too long, but then again, so did UAB at the end of the game and let North Texas in. This is going to be a fantastic final. Now the pressure is on. UAB is not. UAB is going to be playing like they have to do this, because if they lose, they're out. Florida Atlantic, I believe, is already in. They don't have that pressure so much. Sometimes when you don't have it, you just lay back a little more than normal. If UAB is playing like they need this to move on and play next weekend, they can certainly beat Florida Atlantic.
Before I pull up the next bracket, I'm going to go over here and go to some standings because I want to pull up the Metro Atlantic regular season standings here and point out that 11th place team that finished dead last, 6-14 in conference during the regular season. Now, as we go back to our Metro Atlantic bracket, yes, there's that same Marist team in the championship game against Iona. Unbelievable that this team found a way to win yet another game here. This time over, the 10 seed St. Peter's, but now they may be running into the wall here, Griggs, with the Iona Gales, who took care of Niagara in their
Yeah,
semifinal.
they took care of Niagara after being behind for a lot of the game. I don't think Iona.
It was tied at halftime, even there.
Yeah. And I don't think Iona is going to trip up tomorrow, because, I mean, that would be a legendary stumble. I mean, that's not stubbing your toes. That's shooting yourself in the face if you lose that game.
But
I think
don't-
Iona
don't
rolls,
know,
but
I
like,
don't know if we ever had a team that finished outright dead last in this conference win a conference tournament. I mean, we've seen
win a
teams that-
conference tournament. I
Win it.
remember one other occasion where a team got to the finals.
I remember the year that Holy Cross won in the
Yeah.
Patriot League, but they were the ninth,
They were
not
the
10th
nine,
place
yeah.
team. Yeah, not 10th. They were not dead last.
Yeah.
I remember Milwaukee making a run in the Horizon to the finals when they were dead last, but they didn't win it. So
Right,
Uh,
that's the one I was thinking of. I want to say Iowa did it once in the Big Ten tournament, but that was 20 years ago.
it was also semifinal day in the Mid-American Conference. Slika, this is your neck of the woods here, and in a conference tournament where we always every year get tons of upsets. Rarity of rarities, we got the 2 teams we wanted to see in the finals now, Toledo and Kent State.
It was a good sign for Toledo because the semifinal round is usually where the Rockets tend to slip up right here. Apparently,
Three
Ohio
years in a
had
row, I
used-
think they did as one
I think
seeds, yeah.
OU had used all their bullets against Ball State the night before, and Kent State, they do avenge their loss against Akron last year in the MAC title game, and now they advance to face off against Toledo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Toledo looking for their first NCAA tournament since
1980.
ancient Greece. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike? What do you think? Who wins, Toledo, Kent State?
I want to go with the Golden Flashes here.
Okay, so you don't think Toledo? You think Toledo, even though they finally, as a 1 seed, got out of the got past the semifinals. They can't get all the way there still.
Penn State's a 2. You know, they're not that far behind.
Yep.
But if Toledo does win, Chad will be singing Rocket Man on tomorrow night's podcast.
Yeah.
absolutely.
This is going to be a great game.
Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both these teams are good. Both these teams are good enough to win in the round of 64. I'm not saying
Yes.
that they will, but either one of them could. It's going to be an intense game. It's an emotional game. Toledo trying to get somewhere they haven't been really in my lifetime. So, wow.
Another team
So
trying to
don't
get
miss
somewhere.
that game.
Another team trying to get somewhere they haven't been in a very, very long time is Howard, who took care of Maryland Eastern Shore, kind of pulled away in the second half and rolled in that game. Norfolk State NC Central was the first really good game we had in the MEAC tournament, where NC Central was able to hit a 3 at the buzzer, force OT, but Norfolk had enough to win it. But Dorman, that sets up Howard Norfolk State tomorrow night, kind of like the new kids in this conference versus the old guard in Norfolk State.
Yes, the old guard has awoken. We were looking at this team early in season, and everyone thought this was the favorite in the conference. They didn't play great through conference, but now they're playing well. And you're right, Chad. The new guard, Howard, has taken over. At least they ran the regular season, took the first place seed here. This should be another fantastic game tomorrow. I'm going to lean towards Norfolk State with the experience, but this is a coin flip also.
Yeah, I think it is. And Stalika in the SWAC.
Oh,
Let's go back a couple nights here. I think it was Tuesday night show. And somebody on this podcast predicted Grambling to beat Texas Southern in the championship game. I might have to give myself a little pat on the back here, because
yeah.
here's those two teams meeting tomorrow.
Yes, I can recall predicting that. I called this.
I'd call Grambling and Southern, but not Grambling and Texas Southern. And I'm not going to claim that I was bleeped out right here. I'm still going to go with my original pick of Grambling right here, but obviously you can never count out Texas Southern in this tournament setting right here.
Texas Southern just knows how to win. I mean, they've got a great coach there in Johnny Jones, and they were hurt all season, and I'm kind of half leaning that maybe I was wrong, and maybe they're going to actually beat Grambling as well tomorrow. Grambling looking for their first ever NCAA tournament bid. 5:30 ESPNU here.
Yeah.
They were down to Jackson State, had to come back to win that game.
Chad, I'm with you. I don't know how you called this, but I think my pick back in October, which I had long since abandoned, didn't stick with at all, might get this done.
Texas Southern didn't even qualify for this tournament. Only the top 8 out of 12 teams until the last day of the regular season
right.
to even get into the field. I every now and then I get one right. I guess, broken clock thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go to the conference of the night, though.
Wow. Oh, wow.
After Grand
Wow.
Canyon held on late for the surprising upset over top seed Sam Houston, which was a great game and a great win by the Lopes, that didn't even matter, because in the nightcap, after a close first half, Utah Valley came out the second half and was dominating Southern Utah, built up a 23-point lead, and then decided not to play basketball anymore, decided not to even know how to shoot a free throw anymore, and decided, even when up 3 with 8 seconds left, to foul so they don't lose the game, but they decided to foul the team while he was actually shooting the three-pointer that went in, and the free throw gave Southern Utah the win. That's why you don't foul when you're up 3. But Griggs, let me start with you. Thoughts on this insane Southern Utah win here?
Well, you pretty much summed it up. It was stupefying. A 23-point comeback in the second half. It's the biggest comeback of all of championship week this year, at least that I can remember. I can't remember ever seeing a game like this, and I've seen a lot of games.
Mark Madsen saw a game like this, but he was on the opposite end back in 1998 when Rhode Island had what appeared to be an insurmountable lead in the Elite Eight against Stanford, and then they melted down. And look what Utah Valley did to honor their coach.
This was Tim Cluse. This was a Clusing. That's what this was, and I don't. We haven't seen anything like this since Tim Cluse.
I'll tell you what though, Mike, we've got Grand Canyon and Southern Utah tomorrow. I think that Southern Utah may not have anything left. I think they're so emotional. I think the Lopes are going to win this game tomorrow. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's the emotional nature for Southern Utah. Plus, they played the later games. Grand Canyon played the earlier game, and that's an advantage. So I'm
It's a
leaning a
late
little bit
game
toward
to
Grand Canyon for tomorrow or today, or whatever.
Yeah, well, there's going to be an 11:30 start in that game, so that is the last game of Saturday, Saturday, so they're going to have the full day to rest. But
Yeah.
that was
Shout
it.
I
out to
don't know.
former Centenary winner Southern Utah making it to the championship game right here.
I think Grand Canyon's going to come out and be totally dominant and build up a 20-point lead with about 8 minutes to go, and then
And lose the
Southern
game.
Utah's going to win.
It was also that was it for today, actually, for all the games today. But we have a couple conferences that have been off for a little while that are coming back, including the America East
Yes,
tomorrow. It
sir.
is 11 a.m. One of the first games to tip tomorrow. UMass Lowell at Vermont. Griggs, I don't give Lowell much of a shot in this game. I think this might be an ugly
I
game.
don't either. Lowell's had a great season. They were one of the better stories, certainly under the radar stories, but also in college basketball. Not a real rich history since transitioning up, and had a fantastic year with some high watermarks. But to go on the road to Vermont and win at Vermont, the last team that did that actually had a much easier time in the round of 64 against Virginia.
I think they would be a 16 seed if Lowell wins this, but I don't think they're gonna. I really just don't see them winning it. But
Yeah.
great season for Lowell.
Yeah.
I
we are
think Lowell
also-
can stick around. Lowell can stick around. They've got a solid team. If they hit their jumpers outside early and can ease the crowd, because Burlington's going to be jumping. We know
Yeah,
that.
I will.
We've seen
Oh,
this.
yeah. They're
But
already
if I'm sure the party has already started and the game, they'll be ready for this 11 o'clock tip. But if UMass Lowell can knock down some early shots and take the pressure off themselves, they could stick around.
It is also going to be semifinal day in the A10. Stalika, VCU, St. Louis, Dayton, Fordham. Through all these rounds, we got the top 4 seeds through. Do the top 2 go through, or do we maybe get an Arch Baron Cup? What's going to happen tomorrow?
I had initially picked the Arch Baron Cup right here. I wasn't sure if Fordham was going to able to survive or not, but the entire borough of the Bronx is going to be filling the Barclays Center for Saturday. And for once, Dayton fans are going to be outnumbered, so they're going to have to win what amounts to a road game in order to advance to the title game here. VCU, on the other hand, this was a team I initially thought wouldn't even make it to this round because I thought St. Bonaventure would upset them, but that never happened. So I'm going to go with the Rams here to end up meeting the Rams.
The Rams versus
Listen,
Rams. All Rams. Fun.
Yeah.
Griggs.
Fordham's one of the best stories in college basketball this year. If you don't have a rooting interest in this game, join Fordham Ram Nation. They haven't been good since the Reagan administration and probably be before that. Fordham fans have been on board and they are backing this team. I agree with Chad. Brooklyn will be rocking tomorrow with the Fordham Rams.
I think the last NCAA tournament was in the late 70s. I think it was, like you said, before the Reagan
Before
administration.
Carr, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me add one caveat to that. I think it was 1992 where I think they actually won the Metro Atlantic, but it was 1991. Unfortunately, they lost a playing game to St. Francis, PA, so
Right.
they did not make the NCAA tournament that year.
Yeah, but okay,
Wow.
there's our semifinals there, and
Oh, that's right. Fordham's backyard.
for
Yeah.
all we've been doing here, all these championship weeks, believe it or not, there is one conference that we have not yet even taken a look at. This is our second to last show. For the first time, the premiere of the Ivy League bracket going to be in Princeton here. Cornell versus Yale and Princeton Penn. Griggs, what do you think about these 2 semifinals here? Because I think especially that Princeton Penn game is going to be a huge ton of fun. I don't care where you're playing the game. That's going to be a great game.
Great.
Yeah,
Talk about your alma mater here.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean,
I don't see Clown College up there.
yeah, Princeton was my safety school. Had I not gotten into the junior college that I eventually got thrown out of, the Ivy League was one of the. It's the most fun that I ever remember it being. Normally, it's a 1 or a 2 horse race. There were as many as it came down. There were as many as 6 teams that were in the hunt for first place all the way to the very end. And the playoff in the tournament came down to the last weekend. Cornell, who I thought at one time was heads and tails better than everybody else, barely made it in at all. It's in Princeton. I like how Princeton was playing. Really, any of these 4 could win it. If you played it 4 times, I bet 4 different teams would win it. But I'm going to go with Princeton to win this.
Princeton to win it. Salika, who wins this?
I think Titel is going to be not a happy camper, and it's going to be a Princeton party this weekend.
Princeton. Dorman, you going to Princeton also?
No, I'm going Yale.
I'm with you on Yale. Mike, who's the tiebreaker? Yale, Princeton, or you want to go somewhere else?
If it was truly on a neutral court, I would go with Yale, but it's at Princeton, so I'm going with Princeton.
Oh, no Cornell or Penn picks. That completes it all for all the conference tournaments. I guess it's time to move on to an update on our mock committee. Slika, you're up here. Let me blow this up a little bit larger, but go ahead. What happened today?
Well, in fact, I had also posted the article just as we had gone on to the air right here. Now, one of the things that happened tonight is bids opened up in the ACC and Pac-12, but that was actually after our committee had finished meeting. So we did not nominate any additional at-large teams onto the board. So what we did instead was we began seeding the top 7 lines here, since we didn't have enough at-large teams to do the full 8 as we had originally planned. So the first group of 8 teams you'll see there from Kansas down to Baylor. The second group of 2 seed lines would be Arizona down to Virginia, then Miami down to Kentucky, and then the 7 seed line from Northwestern down to Michigan State was added. If you look on the board in the at-large, the 4 teams highlighted, Illinois, Iowa, Florida Atlantic, and Arkansas, those are going to be carryovers, and more likely than not will probably end up either at the 8 line or the top of the 9 line.
Right. And one important thing to note here is that this is not our final seed list, even for the top 7 lines. That's subject to significant scrubbing. This is kind of the initial seed list here. But there we go. The 4 teams that are crossed off in red under consideration were our 4 carryovers from potential at-large spots. As you can see, we do have at least 3, and up to 9 more at-large spots, depending on what happens throughout the rest of the games tomorrow and even Sunday. So there's definitely going to be more teams added in here, and we'll have another update tomorrow night.
Chad?
Yeah.
I can't read it. Should the Mountain West be added since it's a Utah State San Diego State final?
No, because Utah
We haven't
State has
put
not been put in
Yeah.
our field yet. They're still
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Only if every team that's left alive is there. But
I should also add that if we were to nominate Vanderbilt to the at-large board, that would also add a spot for the SEC.
there's ways that other spots open up besides just the teams losing. But let's go to our survival board. This is a tool we do for the NCAA tournament committee, where we track how many teams are left with a chance to make the tournament, and whether the committee should be considering them for at-large bids, or should have them locked in, or should they just be auto bid onlys.
Yeah.
And heading into the day today, we had 115 teams left with a shot to make it. As a result of today's action, did we do it? Did we drop under 100? We did.
Wow.
97 teams left.
Despite Ohio State's best efforts.
Yep,
Yeah.
97 teams left. And if we go down here and scroll down, take a look, we can see their categories in various different ways. So, Griggs, if you're a committee member and you're coming to the board and you're trying to figure out whether or not UConn deserves an at-large bid, what does this board tell you?
Oh, they do, because they're in blue. The board tells the committee you have to take this team.
Because they're in lock and they're in blue.
Yes,
if
and
you're-
the internet works at the hotel, so they can access this board. People are like, "Well, this board isn't in the room." It absolutely is. They have the internet.
What if a committee member comes to this board and they're wondering whether or not Wichita State should be in the field?
They shouldn't be. And a committee member, it's very conceivable that they would wonder, is Wichita State in the field, especially if it's a new member, especially, if they've had too much ice cream. And that's a lot of what the committee does. They just eat a bunch of ice cream. But no, they shouldn't be.
because they're in
on the
red
right.
and they're
Yeah, because they're in
eliminated.
red. Yeah.
Now, what if a committee member is wondering about Oklahoma State? That would be the eighth team out of the Big 12.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they're in a
that's
weird spot. They're in green. What does that mean?
well, it means that maybe they'll get in and maybe they won't, and it's just kind of up to the committee to decide. So when they see green, it means
So we're
that,
not
that
doing
they
all
kind
the
of have to
work for them. We're just
yeah,
doing
we're not
most
doing
of
all
it.
the work. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just doing most of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like while they're eating ice cream, we're doing most of the work here for them.
I guess that's everything for today, right, Griggs?
No, I'm getting. I should have been let. I submit that I have gotten every one of these questions right, and I should have been let out a long time ago.
Okay. We are giving Griggs a chance to get out of the puppet bunker, which he is still safely locked away in. See, all the locks are still in place there. The chains are bolted, the combination codes in there and everything. But if you can guess both these blind resumes, we're going to let you out, and I'm going to give you a very big clue here tonight again, Griggs.
You're too nice.
When we were looking earlier at our board, in fact, I'll pull it back up again over here. We're looking at our mock committee board. We have Centenary and Stallings Award winners. Those are teams
Yeah, Long
that are on
Island.
our
Yeah.
board. That are on our board. Griggs, we have a Centenary and Stallings Award winner. The Centenary and the Stallings Award winner here. Who is it? Which
Wait
team
a
is
minute.
this?
Oh, yeah, we just saw it. Can we go back to the board one
Oh,
more
it's,
time?
you know, I shouldn't have even shown that screen because the Centenary Award, the award we give at Hoops HD to the worst team in D1, Stallings to the worst power conference team in D1.
Yeah, but can we go back to the board one more time? The NCAA. Okay, this is my guess. Okay, I got it. I got it. Long Island. That is Louisville on the left and Long Island on the right. I got it. I got it.
If you got it right, then you are getting out. Let's find out. Oregon State and Delaware State. Last year's Centenary and Stallings Award
No,
winner.
you said that. Not the right. You said it was the Stallings and Centenary Award.
They were last year. Close, but not quite.
I bet you should have known it was a red flag once you saw 2 road wins from the Centenary Award winner.
Oh,
That note, let's go to final thoughts here. And Stalika, why don't you start us off?
Normally on Saturdays, we usually get about 100 to 150 games, but with championship week winding down, we are now down to 23 games with 10 semifinal games going on, along with 13 championship games in which auto bids are going to be handed out. So with the season winding down, we are just about 2 days away from our own equivalent of Christmas with Selection Sunday coming up.
We are, yep. Mike, any other final thoughts?
Not. I mean, if you're a bubble team, you better hope Ohio State and Vanderbilt, for that matter, lose. I mean, you're kind of sweating for sure. But this is, you know, we're right there, right smack in the middle of the best week of the college basketball season, and a lot more to come.
Yeah, I think that even more than Vanderbilt, I think the FAU game is the other big one for
that's
bubble
right.
teams.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Good
Yeah.
point.
Dorman.
You're both stealing my points.
Sorry.
As we head to Saturday, through all games Friday, let's talk about the bid thieves. We have 5 bid thieves alive and kicking. 1 tomorrow in Conference USA. UAB is a thief because they're playing Florida Atlantic. If Florida Atlantic wins, they're in. They were already in. I believe they're safe as can be. UAB would secure a second bid for Conference USA. Moving to a semifinal, Ohio State in the Big Ten against Purdue. It's a semifinal. They need 2 more wins. Ohio State still a bid thief. To the American, 2 bid thieves alive in the American because Houston and Memphis are our 2 teams that are getting in anyway. Cincinnati in a semi has Houston. Tulane has Memphis. If either of them win tomorrow, they'll be in the final Sunday, and they'll be a bid thief alive. The last one is in the SEC. I'm not so sure, like Stalika said, that Vandy won't get voted in. But as of this moment, they're not. So they still are a bid thief in the SEC. They play A&M in a semi tomorrow.
I'll throw one out there very, very marginally. You could argue Utah State is a bid thief still, the Mountain West. I'm not 100% certain that they're in either. Although I think they might be stealing Boise State's bid if they do steal a bid. So it might be six of one, half dozen of the other. Greg, do you want to finish us off here?
Yeah, as far as bid thieves go, in my take is the season's long enough and they play enough games, and especially for teams that are not in under the radar conferences, if your bid gets stolen, that's on you. Don't be mad at UAB.
Don't be mad at UAB. The lesson of the night is don't be mad at UAB. All right.
or
On
or
that note,
or Cincinnati or whoever it is that ends up doing it. Yeah.
on that note, we will be back tomorrow night with the season finale of Championship Week Video Notebook. We'll finally be able after tomorrow night to get to sleep again. But on behalf of David Griggs, John Sleeka, Mike Chaw, David Dorman, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again one last time tomorrow night.